What do you think Brock Purdy has to do to keep the starting job? Let me just paint the picture real quick. There is a legit chance that he wins the next 3 games in the regular season, wins in the first round of the playoffs at home, wins in the second round of the playoffs potentially at home, and goes to the NFC Championship game in Philly. And whether he wins or loses, if he really wins the next 5 games and goes that far, it'll be historic. So, would that be enough? What do you think? What does he have to do to pretty much take the decision out of the Niners' hands?
He has to continue to play like he's playing, and he has to. I think as long as he's doing what he's doing, and he's kind of carrying the load more than just being carried by the team. If he's kind of carrying the team with him, or at least playing on the same level, and he can do that through the postseason. Before I would say he has to win the Super Bowl, but I don't even think he necessarily has to do that. He just has to play really well through the postseason, continue it over these next 3 games, and maybe all the way to like an NFC Championship game. Worst case scenario, it's going to be a competition between him and Trey Lance, I think, if he does that. But best case scenario, he could be going into the season as a starter. The only thing is that the 49ers have so much invested into Trey Lance, and his talent it's a superior talent. I think everybody knows that overall his talent level is much higher, and they're going to want to see what they can get from him. So it's going to be definitely interesting, but I think it's a great problem to have. And competition, I love competition. And if Trey Lance is as good as I think he is, or a lot of people think he is, then he's not going to be worried about competing for his spot either. So I think it's just a beautiful situation.
Yeah, man. If he continues to play the way he's playing like right now, and they go to the NFC Championship game, I don't see how they can justify benching him. Because what are you saying? Like, he's the reason you didn't beat Philly? Like, probably not. That's not even fair. What he did as a rookie quarterback was unprecedented, commendable. He hasn't done it yet. But if he does it, it just seems like, you couldn't even bench him for Kirk Cousins. If you told the locker room, hey guys, I know you like Brock Purdy, but we just traded for Kirk Cousins, I bet there'd be a lot of like, what?
Yeah.
So if you couldn't do that, could you really bench him for a guy who has 4 career starts and 1 career win? Hard. Brock Purdy's making this a really tough. He's almost taken. He hasn't yet. It's been 3 games, but it's right there for him. I think he could sort of take this job, and then Trey would get his opportunity if Brock ever got injured, which, he's injured right now, so it could always happen. But, man, this is interesting. And I want to say something, like, we're kind of scoffing at his skill set. Like, I see people comparing him to Taylor Heineke, and, like, that's fine. But I'm going to – can I go on the high end of what the most reasonable comp for him would be on the high end?
Yeah.
Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me, all right?
All right.
Don't laugh at me. I'm not saying he's this guy, but he's got a lot of Joe Montana in him. I'm so sorry for saying that. I'm sorry. But if you say like, well, he doesn't have a strong arm. Did Joe have a strong arm?
He didn't have I think he had a stronger arm than Brock Purdy, but I don't think it's not strong. Yeah.
Maybe not. He did not have a lot of zip on his throws. What he had was amazing accuracy. I'm not saying Brock's amazingly accurate, but he was quick. He was athletic, but not super fast. He had accuracy. He could throw the ball down the field, but he didn't have a ton of zip on his throws. And hell of a game manager. And he was a baseball player, also a basketball player, but a baseball player in high school. Purdy was a baseball player too. And I feel like quarterbacks that played baseball, a lot of those guys can make all the different arm slot throws. Anyway, I'm not saying he's going to win 4 Super Bowls and be Joe Montana. But before we just scoff and write off his skill set, I think it's important to kind of compare the skill sets to Joe. Joe was a 3rd-round pick. He was not an overwhelmingly dominant athlete by any stretch. He wasn't.
He kind of reminds me, when I do a high, I'm probably not ready to go with the Joe.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
If I'm doing one, he reminds me of Tony Romo a lot. Kind of that kind of playmaker.
That's what you mean. Because Romo was a late pick.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Romo. But again, super early, so we'll have to see. There's a lot of cases of people in the past starting really hot and then just kind of tapering out. And I'm hoping that's not the case with Brock Purdy. But so far, man, it's so good. It's a great story. It's fun to be a part of and to watch. And and
if you put him in 3rd and 10, I mean, I don't know that he has the zip to be pulling off that kind of stuff. Like he's not a great quarterback. He has obvious limitations. He's not going to be like gunning the ball past the sticks on 3rd and long. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he's cheap, and the Niners aren't even built to play that way anyway. They're so invested in their running game, they should never be in 3rd and 9 unless there was a holding penalty. Like they should be in 3rd and 4 all freaking day, and he's fine at that. So the way they want to play and the little they want to spend at the quarterback position, he's exactly what they're looking for. If he can keep it up, they might be able to win Super Bowls with him, which is crazy. They might be able to do it.
I definitely think it's possible. Yeah. I guess my only thing, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
He's had probably 3 potential interceptions that clearly could have.
No, he had one that was a legit pick. And then against Tampa, he threw the ball to the defensive lineman. Mm-hmm. That could have got returned. And then it was called back because of a penalty away from the play. And then this one, I mean, the guy just dropped the ball. So it's fair. He's gotten lucky.
Yeah. So
he's gotten lucky.
Like, what would the narrative be any different had those balls been intercepted? Yes. So it's something that, just kind of.
But he still would have won the games probably. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, like Joe Montana had games where he threw a lot of picks. I'm not comparing him to Joe Montana, but I'm just saying, he's got more wins as a rookie than Joe did.
It's a great story, man. Either way, I mean, it's fun to be a part of. It made the season really exciting. When Trey went down, I was really bummed about the season. That was I was really looking forward to seeing Trey play. And then Jimmy was quarterback, and it was just kind of like year 5, and although Jimmy was playing the best ball of his career too, maybe partially responsible because of Brian Griese. When he went down, I was like, oh gosh, because I saw Brock in the Chiefs game, and I wasn't really excited about him. No. I was excited about him in the preseason and in training camp, and the things I saw, I'm like, oh, this guy's actually a playmaker. But then when he came in the Chiefs game, I was like, oh, he's not what I thought. But if you think
about it, though, in the Chiefs game, they were down big, and that's not how the Niners really play, where you have to pass. Like the Niners are all about getting the lead and leaning on you, and that's what they've been able to do with Purdy, and that's what he's built to do. He's not built to come from behind, obviously not. So he's going to look good as long as the rest of the Niners look good. Mm-hmm. The question is he good enough for the 49ers? At his price point, if they're healthy, maybe. I mean, they keep kicking the shit out of everyone they play with Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? They keep kicking the shit out of everyone they play with Brock Purdy. So I don't know. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to beat Philly. And if they lose to Philly in Philly NFC Championship game, it doesn't mean that necessarily that Brock wasn't good enough. It might mean that the offensive line isn't good enough or something. But we'll have to. We're not there yet.
If I'm being a negative Nancy, and I know
please, I'm being too positive today. I'm nauseating myself.
I got to counterbalance it.
Thank you.
It's unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to think about the team and the position that he's in right now. I think the goal of why they drafted Trey Lance was to get that quarterback that could come from behind, and whether that ends up being Trey Lance or not, is that who Brock Purdy is? Like if Brock Purdy was on the Jaguars, would he be playing as well as he is right now? So I think ultimately, Jimmy was a serviceable quarterback. I had him at a B- QB. But I'm looking for an A, because I'm a 49ers fan. I'm looking for Joe Montana, Steve Young, and maybe it is Brock Purdy. Who knows? Maybe it's Trey Lance, but that's what I'm looking for.
I don't think they drafted Trey Lance to be that come from behind quarterback. I don't think they Kurt Bankert used to be on the team. He was in the practice squad. He was doing a live stream last night, and he said live that the Niners basically don't practice 2-minute drills.
I saw that.
And he's like, and he was like, you know what? At first I was like, that's crazy. But then I was like, you know what? Why should they? They never have to do them. They're always winning. They're never in a rush. When are they ever in a rush on offense? So to me, what Trey Lance was there to do was to actually supercharge the run game and make their strengths stronger. And what's funny about Brock Purdy is that he's killing it, and the passing game looks good, but the run game hasn't been as efficient as you would expect, and we'll talk about that next. But that's, I think, what Trey's about. If Trey were here, as a passer, he's not as experienced or accurate as Brock, but the offense would be averaging like 6 yards a carry. So, and you would have a downfield like shot. Maybe it's not good enough to win as many games as they can with Brock right now, but over time, you think Trey could become really special too. So,
can we just combine Brock Purdy and Trey Lance into one quarterback?
Well, what I think what is cool is like last year they tried to sell the Lance Jimmy well, there was no competition, but they've been trying to sell this as like a Joe Steve situation, which always made me laugh because you're comparing Jimmy Garoppolo to Joe Montana. Get the hell out of here. But I just compared Brock Purdy to Joe. So now I feel like we got the Joe Montana Steve Young dynamic, and maybe Brock is the one who's on the field first, and maybe it'll take Trey a little bit longer in the backgrounds, but maybe Trey takes his job eventually. Maybe they take each other's job a few times. I don't know, but it could be very interesting.
I think it's safe to say that probably both quarterbacks will see the field at some point next year based on the history of this team. So, it's going to be interesting, man. 49ers are never dry of good, entertaining content.
I got something else to say.
Okay.
I think Purdy's going to be the best thing that ever happened to Trey. Because I think Trey, I can't prove it, but I think Trey felt that the fact that they gave up so much for him and the only guy in his way was Jimmy Garoppolo, who everyone knows isn't good enough. I think he kind of felt like, man, I'm destined to get this job. And I'm young. And so I got time. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like this offseason, while he did all the right things in camp, like, man, that video of him making it rain, like I got a bunch of pictures in my DMs of him at other various parties and places that I didn't want to put out publicly because I'm not a snitch, but it's like, man, it sounded like you were a 22-year-old who was sheltered as a kid and came out to the big city and became a franchise quarterback and lived it up, as I would have done. But what he needs to realize is that, dude, your opportunities come and go fast in the NFL because there's this kid that you didn't know existed who might just take your job right now. So I have a feeling Trey Lance will not be making it rain this offseason. I have a feeling he's going to put his best foot forward, and we're going to have a hell of a quarterback competition this offseason. That's what I'm expecting. And if not, Trey, dude, I don't know what you're thinking because Brock is not messing around. He's so serious, dude.
This definitely has to light a fire under him. The urgency's there. The competition's there. It's great entertainment. It's good for the team. It's good for both of them. It's going to make both of them better. Looking forward to it, man.
I just want to not see Brock Purdy, on a date with a porn star making it rain at a house party this offseason. Can we get one quarterback for the Niners who doesn't want to be like an adult film star or whatever? Like, come on.
The offseason is going to be great. I'm looking forward to the offseason workouts with Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Brandon Ayuk. Maybe Debo will show up this time. The whole offseason is going to be –
Maybe Debo will show up this time. That's hilarious.